For 11 years, I thought I was just an ordinary woman, working as a maid in my own husband's house. I slept in the storage room while he shared the bed with another woman. But when I discovered that my marriage certificate was fake and that my best friend was actually his legitimate wife, my life completely fell apart. Until a phone call changed everything. My real parents revealed a secret they had kept for decades. I wasn't who I thought I was. In fact, I was the heiress to a billionaire empire, and now it was time for my revenge. My name is Sarah, and for 11 years I lived what I thought was my normal life in Los Angeles. I wake up at 5 in the morning, clean a 15-room mansion, take care of 2 ungrateful children, and sleep in the house's storage room. Yes, you heard that right, in the storage room. While my husband Michael shares the king-size bed with my supposed best friend Jessica. During all these years, Michael always told me that our financial situation was tight, that we couldn't afford to have separate bedrooms. "It's temporary, Sarah," he would repeat. "Soon things will get better." But things never got better. Jessica was always there, helping with the children, supporting the family. I was grateful to have such a dedicated friend. The children, Tommy age 8 and Emma age 6, treated me like a maid. "Sarah, where's my snack?" "Sarah, my clothes are dirty." "Sarah, you're too slow." When I tried to correct them, Michael always took their side. "They're just children, Sarah. You need to have more patience." But it was last Tuesday that my life fell apart. I was organizing the family documents when I found a folder I had never seen before. My curiosity got the better of me. When I opened it, my world collapsed. There was a marriage certificate, Michael Johnson and Jessica Miller, dated 12 years ago, 1 year before our supposed wedding. My hands trembled as I read that document. Everything made sense now. Why I never saw our original certificate. Why Michael always made excuses when I suggested renewing our vows. Why Jessica has so much freedom in our house. She wasn't the visitor, I was. I confronted Michael that same night. "Explain this to me," I said, throwing the certificate on the living room table. He didn't even try to deny it. "Sarah, you wouldn't understand. Jessica and I, we have history. But you're also important to this family, important. I was the unpaid babysitter. 11 years, Michael. 11 years of my life wasted taking care of your family with your wife." I screamed. That's when the children appeared. "Why are you yelling at Daddy?" Emma asked. "Sarah is being dramatic," Jessica said, appearing as if she owned the place. "Children, go to your room. The adults are talking." "Adults? You call me an adult now?" For 11 years I was treated like a maid in this house. My voice echoed through the mansion. You slept in the matrimonial bed while I, the woman who thought she was married to him, slept on the floor of a storage room. Michael stood up, irritated. "Enough, Sarah. You're making drama over nothing. Jessica is my wife, yes, but you have your place in this family. You take care of the children, the house ... My place? My place?" Something in me exploded. Before I could control myself, my hand flew directly to his face. The sound of the slap echoed through the entire house. Jessica screamed. The children started crying, but I didn't stop there. "You used me as a slave for 11 years. You're crazy," Michael yelled, holding his face. "Guards, get this woman out of here. Guards, since when did we have guards?" But 2 men appeared and started dragging me outside. "Wait," I screamed. "And the children." "They are ... double quotes. They're no longer yours," Jessica said coldly. "Michael, show her." He took a paper from his pocket, adoption documents, all signed, transferring legal custody of the children to Jessica. Tommy, Emma. I called, but they hid behind Jessica. "We don't like you anyway," Tommy said. "And Jessica is much better. She gives us candy and lets us stay up late." When the guards threw me outside in the torrential rain of Los Angeles, I had absolutely nothing. No money, no documents, no place to go. For 11 years I had given up everything. my career in medicine, my dreams, my family, for a man who never considered me more than a convenient maid. I walked through the wet streets until I found a payphone. There was only one number I knew by heart, a number I hadn't dialed for more than a decade. With trembling hands, I dialed my parents. "Sarah? Sarah, is it you?" My mother's voice on the other end of the line was loaded with emotion and relief. "Mom, I need help," I said, my voice broken by the rain and tears. "Where are you, dear?" "We'll come get you right now." 20 minutes later, a Rolls-Royce stopped in front of me. It wasn't the simple car I remembered from my parents. A uniformed driver got out and opened the rear door. "Miss Sarah? Your parents are waiting at home." The home was a mansion in Beverly Hills that made Michael's house look like a shack. When I entered, my parents were waiting in the living room, but they looked completely different. My mother, Elizabeth, was wearing a dress that would cost more than a car. My father, Robert, wore an impeccable suit. "Sarah, my daughter," my mother hugged me, but I pulled away, confused. "What place is this? Did you win the lottery?" My parents exchanged meaningful looks. "Daughter, sit down. We have a lot to talk about." "Sarah, do you remember why you cut contact with us 12 years ago?" my father asked. I remembered vaguely. Michael had said that my parents didn't approve of our relationship, that they were simple people who didn't understand our love. "Michael said you didn't like him, ... double quotes." "Michael lied, dear," my mother said softly. "We tried to warn you about him. We hired investigators and discovered he was already married. When we showed the evidence, you accused us of trying to sabotage your happiness." The memories started coming back. I remembered the argument, how I defended Michael tooth and nail. "You're jealous," I had screamed. "You can't stand to see me happy." And then I cut off contact. "Dear, there's something you need to know about our family," my father continued. "Something we kept secret for your protection." He went to a wall and removed a painting, revealing a safe. From inside, he took out a folder with documents. "Sarah, your real name is Sarah Wellington Thompson. You are the sole heiress of the Thompson medical empire." My father placed the papers on the table. "Our company controls 60% of the American pharmaceutical industry. Our net worth is $47 billion. I laughed. "It had to be a joke. Dad, stop it. If we're that rich, why did I live a simple life until I was 18? "Because we wanted you to have a normal childhood," my mother explained. "Billionaires have children kidnapped, threatened. We kept you safe until you turned 18, when we would reveal everything. But then you fell in love with Michael and rejected your entire inheritance for him," my father said sadly. "We respected your choice, even though it hurt. We kept everything saved, waiting for the day you would return." I looked at the documents, birth certificates, bank accounts, stock certificates. Everything in my name. "Is this real?" "Absolutely real, dear," my mother said. "And there's more. You remember you wanted to be a doctor? You won a full scholarship to Harvard Medical School. We secretly paid and kept your spot open all these years. You kept my spot at Harvard ... for 11 years. The dean is our personal friend. He understands special circumstances," my father smiled. "Sarah, you can resume your studies at any time." That night, in my princess room that my parents had kept untouched for more than a decade, I processed everything. For 11 years, I was treated like trash by a man who knew my true identity all along. Michael knew exactly who I was when he seduced me. He planned everything, I realized. The perfect scam: marry a billionaire heiress, make her give up everything, and then use her as free help while living with his real wife. But Michael made a fatal mistake. He underestimated me. The next morning, I registered for the national medical exam, the hardest test in the country, which would happen in 2 weeks. I had studied medicine on my own for years, dreaming of the day I could return. Now that day had come. "Sarah," my mother said at breakfast, "what do you plan to do about Michael?" I smiled for the first time in 11 years. "Mom, he wants a war? Then he'll have a war. But this time, I have 47 billion reasons to win. 2 weeks later, I was at UCLA surrounded by 300 candidates for the national medical exam. The irony was delicious. Michael worked as a professor at this same university. I had studied 16 hours a day, recovering 11 years of lost knowledge. When the results came out, a week later, I didn't just pass, I broke the national record with 98.7% correct answers. The awards ceremony would be broadcast live on national television. On the day of the ceremony, I entered the UCLA auditorium wearing a $50,000 Versace dress. First place, with the highest score in the history of the national exam, goes to Sarah Wellington Thompson, the presenter announced. When I went up on stage, Michael shouted from the audience, "That woman is a fraud. She was my housemaid." The auditorium fell silent. The presenter offered me the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen," I said calmly, "this man is correct. For 11 years, I was a housemaid in his home. I cooked, cleaned, and took care of his children while he shared the bed with his real wife." The buzz in the auditorium grew. But what Professor Michael didn't mention is that he knew my true identity all along. I signaled, and my lawyers entered the room, distributing documents to the press. "My name is Sarah Wellington Thompson, sole heiress of the Thompson medical empire, with a net worth of $47 billion. And I have evidence that Professor Michael orchestrated a scheme to keep me as a domestic slave while spending my money on his secret family." Michael went pale. Jessica tried to leave discreetly, but my security guards had already blocked the exits. "That's a lie," he shouted. "She's making it all up." "Ladies and gentlemen," I continued, "on the screen behind me, you will see bank statements showing that Michael accessed accounts in my name for 11 years, withdrawing more than $50 million to sustain his luxurious lifestyle." The evidence appeared on the giant screen. Receipts for luxury cars, international trips, expensive jewelry, all paid with my money, while I slept on the floor of a storage room. "Furthermore," I continued, "I have audio recordings of him admitting he always knew who I was." The recording began to play, Michael talking to Jessica. "Sarah, the idiot, will never find out. She's too rich to be smart." The auditorium exploded in indignation. Reporters ran to interview Michael, who was trying to escape. "Professor Johnson, is it true you kept a billionaire heiress as a slave?" A reporter shouted. "You don't understand," Michael shouted back. "She had to learn the value of hard work." Even in that moment, he couldn't admit his crimes. 6 months later, Michael's trial was the most watched event on American television. He was sentenced to 25 years in prison for fraud, extortion, and false imprisonment. Jessica received 15 years as an accomplice. The children, whom we discovered were from Michael's previous relationships, were placed in state custody. But the best revenge came later. I used my fortune to buy the entire UCLA, becoming the owner of the university where Michael worked. Then I bought all the companies where he could get employment. I created a private blacklist that guaranteed he would never work in education again. A year later, I graduated from Harvard Medical School with highest honors. I opened a network of free hospitals across the country, specializing in helping women victims of domestic violence. The name of the network? Second Chance Project. At the inauguration of the first hospital in Los Angeles, I received a letter from prison. It was from Michael. "Sarah, I know you won't forgive me, but I want you to know I always loved you. Can you give me a second chance?" I laughed as I tore up the letter. Second chance? I had learned that in life, sometimes the best second chance is the one we give ourselves. Today, at 35 years old, I am CEO of an $80 billion medical empire, married to an incredible neurosurgeon who treats me like a queen and mother of beautiful twins who will never know what it's like to be disrespected. Michael is still in prison, working in the laundry for 25 cents per hour. Jessica works as a janitor. Ironic, isn't it? And me? I finally lived my own happy ending. Sometimes, what seems to be our greatest defeat is just the universe preparing us for our greatest victory. For 11 years, I thought I was losing everything, but I was actually gaining the strength necessary to rebuild my life even more spectacularly. Life has a peculiar way of teaching us that our worth doesn't depend on how others treat us, but on how we choose to rise after each fall. My story proves that it is never too late to discover who we really are and claim our place in the world. If this story touched your heart, leave your like down below. It motivates me a lot to continue sharing real and inspiring stories. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new content, and tell me in the comments, from which city or country are you watching this video? I love knowing that our community extends around the world. Remember, you are stronger than you imagine, more valuable than you believe, and deserve much more than you're accepting. Until the next story.